Hey guys, this is Norman here, and this is my developmental history project. I would like to start off by saying that this project had to be just a little bit different for me due to growing up in the Amish community as a kid. I don't have, really any pictures of me in my childhood. If you're wondering why that is, there's a lot of traditions that the Amish community holds, but one of those is the choice to not use or really utilize the many forms of technology that we use today. For instance, cell phones, electricity, cars, things of that nature. With that being said, I will try to narrate this project to the best of my abilities and kind of find relevant pictures to just flow with it. On January 24th, 1997, I was born into this world to a loving set of parents in the northeast corner of Indiana. LaGrange County is home to the third largest settlement of the Amish community in the United States, and I have little to no recollection of these early years of being here, and there's really not a lot of picture proof of any sort as well. I started off kind of in Erik Erikson's first stage of the psychosocial development with the trust versus mistrust stage, trying to find out who I trusted in life to take care of my psychological needs, and that happened to be my two loving parents, as well as my family around that. Grew up in a large family. I have 3 older siblings, 2 younger siblings, and then 2 loving parents. Like I said, we were always very close-knit, as well as pretty close to our extended family as well. My mother is from a family of 7, and my father is from a bigger family of 15. I had a ton of cousins growing up, more so than I could even keep track of. At this point, I am in the Piaget's sensory motor stage, just taking everything in around me, trying to make sense of the world. During this time, I didn't have much advanced cognitive ability. I was just kind of living with my parents in this close-knit environment where all of my needs were basically being taken care of, and I didn't have a lot of issues outside of that. When it comes to my early elementary childhood, I would say I was a very naturalistic learner, a very visual learner, and a very kinesthetic learner, as many of us are, but I spend a lot of my free time playing in the outdoors. I remember I spent most of my summers outdoors playing. I had a river that was located behind my house that me and my cousins would play in every summer, and we didn't have any TV or anything to watch, so we would just fill that time with exploration and sports and things of that nature. I was very gifted in arts and crafts, and I remember from as early as kindergarten to, and I believe it was 5th or 6th grade, there was not a single year where I didn't win some kind of an art award at an art show or something. I was always very creative in my artwork and stuff. I played a ton of sports growing up. Basketball was one of my favorites, soccer, football, softball, things of that nature. I learned how to swim at a very early age, developed a love of working, and from as early as from the 3rd grade and on, me and my siblings would get up at 3:15 in the morning and go out to help my parents do the chores for a group of 150 calves, little baby calves at a time that we would raise and tend for. And that was as early as the 3rd grade, and every single day that's what we did. Just got up that early and did chores, and that kind of created work ethic in me that some people might not have been used to. And this was before the 2nd grade. We were living at another house that didn't have any of these chores to do, but when we moved in between my 2nd and 3rd grade year, my family moved locations to where my parents still reside to this day, and those chores are still a thing as well. In my adolescent age, I did go to a public school. There are Amish school options, but parents can send their kids to either public schools or Amish schools, whatever they prefer, or homeschool if they prefer that. My parents chose a public school system called Westview High School, or Westview Schools, I guess. And I started off in Meadowview as my elementary school, and then it merged into a single middle school that was Westview as well. And this is where I really experienced the first of Malaguzzi's theory on the three educating pieces of being, the teacher, the child, and the environment. And this is where when I think about my childhood education, I think a lot about this and how many opportunities that I had as a kid in this time to go outside and take the breaks that I needed to, being the athletic little energizer bunny that I was, to then come back into the classroom fully energized and ready to learn more. And I just remember my teachers putting me in a good spot to empower me and get my creative mind to start thinking. And this is when I would probably consider myself in Lawrence Colburn's conventional stage. I was becoming very, very much of an interpersonal kind of person, expanding my circle of friends beyond just the Amish friends that I had leading up to that point. And I was, entering into Maslow's hierarchy of need of cognition, searching for a meaning in life. This was the time when the first thoughts of, was this Amish lifestyle for me? Was this something that I would continue to want to do? And leading into junior high, I would say I entered into more of the formal operational side of Piaget's theory. I was thinking of a lot of hypothetical scenarios of my future and processing a lot of abstract thoughts as far as, what would my life look like and what did I want it to look like, and the expectations that were laid out before me before I even had a chance to put in my input. It was through this stage, Erikson's fifth stage of psychosocial development, where I was struggling with kind of an identity versus role confusion. Should I follow my parents' wishes and remain Amish, stick with that lifestyle, or kind of create a path of my own? And I went through junior high, and it's typical, if you don't already know, that an Amish teenager discontinue his education after the 8th grade and enter the workforce in some capacity. And so that's what I did after the 8th grade. I took 2 years off after the 8th grade. My parents did not allow me to return to high school. They wouldn't sign my enrollment forms or anything like that. And so I just worked. I got a job and I worked for 2 years. And during that time, I struggled a lot with, gathering up the courage to begin forging my own path. I knew I always wanted to, but I just never had the guts to. And kind of as these 2 years wore on, I realized that this is my life and I need to take control of it. And so after 2 years of scaling up and down the cognitive dimensions of Bloom's taxonomy, I finally kind of gathered that courage to flip that switch and say, all right, I'm going to take control of my life. And I pretty much forced my way back to high school after 2 years. And that was the first time in which I really recognized the different ecosystems, the different ecological systems of Bronfenbrenner's theory, and how those make an impact on each other. I was having a very unusual or complicated home life with my relationships with my parents, and in which I really kind of saw how those things kind of intermingle and create differences in and advantages and disadvantages when it comes to learning then in the classroom. Experienced a lot with the Maslow's self-actualization stage. I was fulfilling kind of my dream of representing my school and my community, and it felt like I was doing something good with my life. One of the first brain rules is exercise. And this is really when I first developed my love, my true love for sports and taking care of my health and being active. I'd played sports my entire life. I fell in love with that, and just kind of getting the piece for advocating for wellness for others. That's when that kind of fell into place as well. I had a chance to, for the first time, work with Special Olympics athletes in high school. Our school partnered up with a neighboring school called Lakeland High School and hosted a Special Olympics in our gymnasium, where we had set up a ton of different stations and activities for these athletes. And I had a cousin who was deaf, I have an aunt that has Down syndrome, and I have 2 cousins that have muscular dystrophy. But I was very close with all these people, and they just it didn't really seem like they were really any different from me. Just like my own, very unique childhood, it is important to recognize that each person that I work with in my future will also have their own unique story, and that I should have to take that into account. I do not know what a client will have gone through when I first see them that day, so I must assume the worst and go from there. See my athletes as individuals before I can expect anything else out of them. They won't care how much I know until they first know that I care about them in general. That's it.